Josh just came from a culture and a family where he was brought up to believe that you treat people well.
It was all about just having fun, getting out there, playing as a team.
I think Australians are taught to play tough together.
He's got the courage of a lion.
I hope that I can give these kids inspiration and be a role model for them to aspire to be like and be better than. My grandparents had a bunch of literally every game on a DVD, and I used to watch them all as a kid.
That guy, who is that? That is Warwick Giddey. What have you done?
He would just watch old videos of Warwick playing.
He used to have folders of them at home, and when I was bored, I'd put them on and watch heaps of them growing up.
Basketball was really, really big.
I think the best way to describe it is like Hollywood. Basketball was booming, everybody wanted to be at the game, there was a lot of razzle-dazzle, you know, there's more media.
Fans are standing on their feet. But this is a packed house.
So all of a sudden it went from a tin shed game to an entertainment center game, and they started moving into actual arenas that would hold 15, 18,000. It was just incredible to those who had been involved, you know, a mere 10 or 15 years earlier. They were great days and, you know, important days for the development of Australian basketball. Yeah, so I was an assistant GM there at the time and had just barely arrived, and it was an incredible team. They gunned for their second championship. It was great to be part of. I used to joke when people would say, "What do you do at the Tigers?" I'm the general manager. Okay, what do you really do? I said, well, I don't really recruit because we've had the same team forever. And Warwick Giddey was there, and that was where that relationship started as well.
I was here working in the stadium during those years, and always the team that you love to beat or you love to hate. And Wazza, his dad, was just a brute on the court.
Off McKinnon charging to the hoop. Warwick Giddey was not going to allow Sam McKinnon to charge in for the dunk.
He was a tough nut, as we would say in Australia.
Wazza, we'll call him Wazza. He's a legend. You know, he's a very down-to-earth guy, very Australian. You know, everyone in Australia knows about the Tigers and kind of their dynasty back in the day and who they had as players. And his jersey's hanging in the rafters in Melbourne.
The Melbourne Tigers have prevailed.
Yeah, look, we run, Melbourne Tigers are famous for running the shuffle, the Auburn shuffle. Really, it's a 5-out offence with shuffle cuts, with double screens, with screens, backdoors. So Josh would have been watching how I made passes, how he could cut, when the defence turns their head, loses vision of the ball, and how we could get him, and how we could backdoor if he was getting pressured. So it was just great to learn from the greatest in Andrew Gaze, and one of the best exponents of running the shuffle and being able to exploit it to his advantage. You know, you couldn't get a better education than that.
And my dad, he's great at teaching it, and we've been running it since under 12, since I was 10 years old. And by the time we got to a point we were 15, 16, 17, we all knew it like the back of our hands.
Using that length, and a great pass by Giddey.
From a young age, he would know the offences, and he would know where everyone else had to be, should be, and he would tell them. So you could see those leadership qualities.
And we teach kids at a young age about putting the ball on a spot, so not waiting until someone's open and then throwing it, but being able to judge, to be able to react to, they're about to be open in a second, I'll leave the ball there for them. And really, we teach the kids at a young age that, and the way I feel is we're giving them an education about basketball. And I feel these days too much is one-on-one, and if you can't beat your man one-on-one, well, you're no good, you can't play. And we say, no, well, can that guy defend us off a pass and a screen? So we teach people to pass and cut, how to read defences, how to pass the ball. And with a shuffle offence, you have all these facets of the game that we're teaching kids.
And the Tigers just looking like they want to play in the half court.
Well, from a young age, you know, we're taught to play team basketball. You give up a good shot for a great one, and that's kind of bred throughout the systems growing up.
Here's Giddey to the rack, left.
Wow.
It's good. Tied ball game. Josh Giddey.
I think Australians the way we're taught to play is tough, is together, is really team orientated, and I think that's why myself has always been a team first guy. It's just the way I've been brought up, the way, you know, I've been taught the game, and I'm very grateful I am like that, because, you know, guys love to play with pass-first guys and good teammates and things like that. So that's what I always pride myself on, and I'm glad I was taught that from a really early age.
I mean, the basketball IQ, I think, was probably the best I've ever seen, and certainly it was years ahead of a 17-year-old. You know, it's probably what you'd expect from a veteran. He brought a bunch of skills that were well past his years. And you know, you overlay that with basketball IQ and just having it as part of your sort of your DNA. It was an extraordinary combination of things.
Warwick Giddey, McGinnon a little off balance. Oh, what a play from Giddey, lying flat on his back.
And now he took it right back from Andrew.
He's got his radar going right now.
Giddey sets it up.
Terrific passer. Got a great feel for the game.
I hope that I can give these kids inspiration and be a role model for them to aspire to be like and be better than.
So my name's Josh and I'm just about to bounce this string in, right?
Well, you know what? Josh was full on as a kid. Like he couldn't sit still. He loved wrestling, like he loved watching the wrestling on TV, and he always had a ball in his hand, so he wanted to wrestle with the girls, but, you know, so he'd make one cry, then he'd go to the next one, make them cry, because, you know, wanted to wrestle.
Oh, that's for you, cameraman, dog.
You know, my mum was huge in just making sure I was at every game, at every practice. She was waking up early to make sure everything was, you know, ready for me and my sisters. So both my parents had to look after 4 kids. You know, it was hard to divide all their time. You know, my sisters did sports and had school and had different activities on.
It was crazy times, like especially on a Friday night when they would play all their basketball. Yeah, we would have one playing at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and they could be all around Melbourne.
Dad got all the credit because he was my coach, but I think Mum played just as big as a role. She played in the WNBL with the Tigers as well. She played for Australia, Victoria, so she's done her rounds as a player, you know, both at the national level and professionally. But I think her role in my basketball career was more off the floor.
He played cricket, he played tennis, he tried everything and anything. Like he just always had a ball in his hand.
Oh, what was that?
When I was a kid, I think I used to prefer playing footy games to basketball games. You know, we'd play basketball on a Friday night, footy on a Sunday, and for some reason, I don't know what it was, I just enjoyed playing footy more. And at the time, like not many people know, I was probably better at footy than I was at basketball. So it wasn't an easy decision to just say, all right, footy's done, I'm gonna go play basketball. I was seriously contemplating not going and staying and playing footy, but once I got that offer to go up to the NBA Academy, that's when I'm like, you know, I can't turn this down. But at the same time, I know that I've got to give away footy and put all my, you know, eggs in one basket essentially, and, you know, give basketball a real go. And as I said, I'm glad I did it, but at the time it wasn't an easy decision. Being around such, you know, royalty in Australia with Andrew, and then my dad was very well known around basketball in this country, and you know, it could have been easy for coaches to be like, you know, it was his son, he knows he's close with Drew, let's put him in the team, but they never did, and I'm grateful now that happened. But it took me 4 years to make my first state team, and that's just Victoria, that's not even the country, and like that was the hardest part for me, because as a junior basketballer in this state, making a state team is like the pinnacle. That's like the best achievement you can get. You're a state team player, you're like, you know, you're the man walking around basketball courts on a Friday night, and I never made it. It took me 4 years to make my first one.
Bounce, cross, between, there you go.
You know, that's a story I tell these young kids, because, you know, they get sad and down about missing out on teams, and I tell them, I said, I've been in your shoes, I know how it feels. I think getting cut from teams can hurt a player's confidence, or it can you know, make you want to, you know, toughen up and you know, fight through adversity. And yeah, I had that confidence in myself always. You know, when I went to the NBA Academy, I slowly became one of the better players there. I was able to lead them in a few different tournaments, and from that point on, I took that confidence going forward.
So it was all about just having fun, yeah, playing as a team.
They certainly drilled the team first ethos into Josh and being a good teammate, and I think that's been one of the things that's made him, you know, such a unique player.
Kim and Warwick are both wonderful people. They're both extremely personable. Both of them had very incredible professional careers, including Kim in the WNBL. So Josh just came from a culture and a family where he was brought up to believe that you treat people well. And that's one of his secret weapons, which I think you're now seeing in the NBA, is just this courtesy and charm that he has, and his ability to keep things in perspective.
Giddey, oh, he finds an open man.
Well, how about the assist right here, folks? Josh Giddey threading the needle.
Oh, Giddey comes up with a big defensive play. Nice pass. Giddey set it up perfectly.
Yeah, man, just a surgical pass.
You know, my mom, when I told her about the NBL, she was so adamant on me going to college. She was pushing me to go to college. But once I finally convinced her to let me sign in the NBL, and I still remember the conversation I had with her. It was in my living room in my house, and I said, like, you know, look, guys have done this before me, and I think for me this is the best route to go.
And he changed his mind. So we got back from the college visit. You know, I don't want to go the college route anymore. I want to play and stay in Australia, play 1 year here, and then try and get drafted after my first year of NBL. So that's what he did.
Once I decided to go to the NBL, it was a matter of picking a team. And I had options, and obviously my dad being so involved with Melbourne, that was where my head was at. I wanted to be in Melbourne, and then anyway, we get into the recruiting process, and Jeff comes into the picture.
So I was aware of Josh at probably 15 years old. There's these off-season workouts that happen, in most cities around the world that are basketball cities, and you get groups of guys to get together, no organization to it, just scrimmaging. And Andrew Gaze is actively involved in a lot of those workouts here in Melbourne. I would check in periodically, and about a week and a half later, I guess, since my last check-in, Andrew called me. And I thought, not unusual, he'd call about something, but he very rarely calls about players. And he literally just said to me, Jeff, get Giddey. So when he said that, I got on the phone to the owner of the Adelaide 36ers and said, I'm just asking you to go with me on this. And to his credit, he was tremendously supportive.
Yeah, there was another club that was trying to get him to play for them. And I jumped on a plane with our GM of basketball, went to Sydney, met Josh. I told him I understood the relevance of actually having a team to actually drive, and that what a PG really wants to develop their game is actually that connection with the front court, but the ability to actually drive a lot of the on-court program. And that seemed to resonate with Josh. There were a lot of clubs after him, but I think we were able to offer something that gave him more court time.
We were prepared to just go with him and have him as a starting caliber player. And really that was seen to be somewhere between brave and mad at the time, being that he was 17. And it's a man's league.
It was pretty cool actually. There was a lot of buzz around the team and the Giddey signing. Yeah, he took everything in stride. Whether he was starting or he was coming off the bench, he didn't really care. As long as he was out there playing and always competed at a high level. So I think there was, a bit of a learning curve for him, but it didn't take him long. Like within a couple of games, he just felt real comfortable. He was right at home and just was playing like he was in practice every day.
I mean, he just had the whole package. And so it wasn't really that much of a stretch for us to see him as our starting PG, and then to really give him, 30 minutes plus per game.
As soon as I stepped foot in Adelaide, I knew I had to be confident if I wanted to earn these guys' respect and trust, and I tried to do that from day one.
Yeah, I think I mentioned before, he's just got that air about him where he doesn't come across like overconfident, but he is. It's just like under the surface where he just knows, I can do this, I'll get it done. Is that inner belief?
Yeah, it was interesting because his body type wasn't a young boy body type. He'd put in some work in the off season, in the lead up to us. His legs were getting big, and he was really turning from boy to man in that time.
I thought, this guy's got everything. He's got all the talent in the world. He's from Central Casting in terms of his profile, but he's got the courage of a lion. And as I got to know him more, I saw that integrity and that team-first approach come shining through on multiple occasions.
As the season went on, I gradually started going up. And when you get to a point in mock drafts where you're, in the lottery top 10, there is a bit of, weight behind it. And that's when I knew that, I was going to get drafted. I still didn't know where. And then we got to a point where we were at the back end of the season. We were done from the playoffs. I knew I was going to get drafted, so we declared for the draft, ended the season, I think a few games out, and started coming back to Melbourne to go ready for it.
The Oklahoma City Thunder select Josh Giddey from Melbourne, Australia, and the NBA Global Academy.
To hear and see Adam Silver walk on the stage and call your name, I think I can speak for all the guys. It's just like it's a heart-stopping moment. I mean, you dream of this all your life and you watch it on TV for so many years. For it to be a reality and for me to be with the Thunder is it's a dream come true.
You become attached in my role, almost like that father figure. You become attached, and they don't feel like your children, but they're kind of, like that really close friend. And it's just a really proud moment to see that he fulfilled his dream.
And to have the support from my family and friends from back home, it means the world to me. So I'm just looking forward to showing them what I can do on a world stage.
I was so happy to see him drafted. We obviously knew he was going to get drafted, and to go number 6 and wear number 6 for us and play for the Sixers, it was kind of poetic for us.
It's a pride issue for everybody in Australian basketball. There's a collective ownership that happens here in a way that probably is quite rare. people really latch on and say, he's our guy. And I think you've seen that, in this last period of time in this country when you see the response at basketball camps, the response down the street, that people really love just being part of that journey.
Good job, boys.
Thanks, Giddey.
Probably a week or two after the draft, we went to Disneyland and we were in line and there was a little boy with a Giddey 3 jersey on. It was the first one I'd seen. And I'm going to the girls, I'm hitting the girls going, look, there's a Giddey, someone's got a Giddey. I couldn't believe I wanted to go up and just give him a big hug. I was so excited.
Oh, it's surreal. There was 1 or 2 around in my era, and now to see my name or Josh's name on the back of these jerseys is just really surreal, and I couldn't be prouder.
I hope that I can give these kids inspiration, and it's always a real privilege to be able to be in a position where I can inspire kids and be a role model for them to aspire to be like and be better than.
Do you think I can make it to the NBA?
Absolutely, I do.
There's a whole generation of kids coming through in Australia that are patterning that. Whereas maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago, watching other players overseas, maybe they're more interested in just shooting the ball and scoring 40. And now it's cool to pass, and now it's cool to be a good teammate because Josh has helped make that a cool thing.
Josh has contributed is going to, I think, extend for many, many years because he's given that younger generation self-belief in the possibility of making it in the NBA. And that, is almost invaluable, that contribution.
Hopefully the next generation continues to get better and better, and we keep producing draft picks and NBA players and medals at Olympics and World Cups, and it makes me really excited to think about the future and how good Australian basketball can be.
1, 2, 3, OKC. You guys follow.
Good job, boys. Good job, my man.